Hi.
Hello.
All right. We're recording.
Hi.
We're recording.
Okay.
We're putting on live transcript. I am. Okay. We just got off the introduction, so I'm sure people are going to start to come on now. And I just want to spotlight Hannah, if she's here. Let's see, I want to make sure so I want to be able to spotlight. Sorry, one sec. Okay. Okay. So, we got a couple of more minutes. I know I'm recording. And I want to make sure. All right. So we'll start. Okay. So we're 7:05. We're going to start on time. So hello, everyone, and welcome to the 8th grade night student panel. And we have a number of students, current Newton North students, who are going to be answering some questions. And then we'll have some time after for a little Q&A. Feel free to put any questions in the chat, and that will go to Ashley Wands, who is my intern for this year. And then as we get around, we're going to hope to spotlight our students who are going to be answering some questions. So without further ado, and if there's anything that you're having trouble with looking, or you can put it in the chat and we'll make sure that we get the information to you. So why don't we have our panelists introduce themselves, say their names, their pronouns, and the grades that they are in.
I can start. So my name is Kathy Zhao. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a junior right now.
Hi, my name is Massimo Carreri. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm a sophomore.
My name's Freddie Jiwa. I go by she, her pronouns, and I'm also a sophomore.
My name is Megan Carey. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a senior.
My name is Grace Beecher. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a junior.
I'm Eliza Kane. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a freshman.
I'm Kyle Bunn. I use him, his pronouns, and I am also a junior.
Okay, is that who we have as our panelists for right now? I think we're good to go. Okay, so we're going to start out with our first question. What was the transition from middle school to high school like? What was good and what was challenging? Meg, you want to start us off?
Sure. I would say that on a more academic side, Newton North teachers are really understanding about how nerve-wracking this transition can be. And I can confidently say that ninth grade teachers and all teachers at Newton North are really good at tailoring to each individual student's needs, no matter what. And on a more social side, Newton North is probably the biggest school that you or your child has ever attended before, and that can be really intimidating. I know I was really anxious about meeting people, and I thought I would be like lost in the crowd, but I could not have been more wrong. Newton North has a lot of opportunities to get involved, whether that be through sports, clubs, theater inc, fundraising, volunteering. The opportunities are endless, so yeah.
Great. Kyle?
Yeah, so similar to what Megan said, there's a lot of opportunities. It's a very open school. It might seem very large, but there's a lot of places where people can communicate and socialize and create new friends.
Terrific. Next question, a little bit similar lines. What are the academic expectations like? You start off with Megan again. You can go to Grace.
Yeah, sure. To put it simply, I would say that the expectation is that you're putting in the work. No matter what level classes you're taking, the expectation is that you're completing what's assigned to you with integrity and effort. With that being said, students are human, and sometimes things come up in our lives that make it difficult to get an assignment done on time or something like that. But your teachers are also human, and they're a lot more understanding than we think. So yeah, as long as you're communicating with them, your child will be perfectly fine.
Grace, you want to help us out too?
Yeah, adding on to that, definitely like it can be kind of intimidating because you think like, oh, high school level workload, like it can seem scary. But the teachers really are very understanding. They really just want you to like do your best. And then if you make a mistake, be willing to like learn from that mistake and then like take advantage of win blocks or like other times to see your teacher. And that way you can keep improving. Like as long as your child has just like a passion for learning and wants to like improve, that's really all your teachers can expect from you.
Terrific. Our next question is how and where does a student get help? Academically, socially, emotionally? How about Massimo?
Hi. I think from the academic side, a big part of where you can get help is kind of like what Grace said, win blocks. They're like a new thing they just put in this year. It's a set aside time where you can meet with certain teachers to get like extra homework done. And I can definitely vouch for how much I've used them. And speaking for like the social and emotional side, Newton North has a really great team of counselors and social workers. So if you ever do have a problem either with in school or outside of school, you always have someone to talk to at North. So there's always a friendly face to look for. And I think our counseling team does a great job at helping students.
I did not pay you to say that. I'm just
Yeah.
Kyle, you have anything to add?
To go on, like all teachers are there for you. I would recommend finding at least one or two teachers that you can say, hey, these are my teachers that what's the word? I can tell them and they won't judge me, or they will help me if I need help.
Terrific. Okay, now getting into the other types, not just about classes, what activities you're involved in? Grace?
So I'm involved in Theater Inc. It's definitely a very fun community at Newton North. I actually directed a show this fall. I directed a stage reading with a fellow junior. So there's a lot of opportunity to kind of get involved and take on leadership roles on all aspects too. So behind the scenes and doing tech. I'm also a tutor for the Newton North High School Tutoring Club, and I manage the English department for that. So I kind of help guide other tutors, and we do free tutoring for like middle schoolers and elementary schoolers. And I'm also one of the editors-in-chief of the Newtonite, the school paper, which is definitely a big time commitment, but again, it's a really fun community and it's a good learning opportunity at North.
Great. Kyle, any other activities to speak of?
For me, I do Theater Inc. as well, but I work on backstage aspects. So instead of being on stage, we do tech. So set, props, sound, set, costumes, wigs, hair, and makeup for all 11 plus shows that we produce per year. And I also am one of the producers of our TV show called New North TV. So every month we produce a 14-minute long news show with different segments, and yeah.
Awesome. And kind of a simple question, but what do you like about Newton North? Eliza?
Yeah, I think at first it was really daunting to me, but it ended up being one of my like favorite aspects, which is the size of the school. It definitely like worried me at first, but it ends up providing the opportunity for many different people to get to know you and for you to get involved in lots of like various activities and find like unique communities to be a part of and explore and get to know many people.
Awesome. What about you, Massimo?
I don't think you guys as freshmen next year will experience this that much, but I have fallen in love with the concept of open campus lunch. Newtonville has so much good food, but other than the great food for sophomores and juniors and seniors, the part I like most about North is the community. Newton North has a very diverse community of students, and whether you come in the first day with having 100 friends or just one, by the time you graduate high school, you'll be able to find your friend group and make lifelong connections. So it's a great place to find either new friends or just reconnect with old ones.
It's terrific. And then what piece of advice would you give the rising ninth graders to succeed at Newton North High School? And you could just kind of popcorn around.
I would say like a big thing is to not be afraid to put yourself out there. Like I know it might be scary, like going to such a large school with a lot of other people, but honestly, like when you start putting yourself out there and taking more risks, you get better at it and you get more used to it. And then like that's when you go through like character growth and develop into your own person. And I would say like don't like even if you're afraid of something, like even if you're afraid of joining a club or doing an activity, like try it out. Like you might find that you really like it and it might end up being really beneficial for you. So just try things out and don't be afraid to take risks.
Awesome. Who else? Kyle, do you have? Yep.
I would also say time management is really important because although a lot of people said that meeting academic expectations is very manageable, it makes life so much easier if you don't leave everything to the last minute so it builds up, because that can cause stress. So like spacing things out and making sure you're just on top of everything you want to achieve throughout like just each week just makes stuff so much more easier. It just makes life easier and allows you like a lot more freedom to pursue what you want to do, and like also have that time to go socialize and enjoy the high school experience.
My piece of advice kind of goes along the same lines as Freddie's, but I always say email your teachers before they can email you, meaning that if you don't have time to complete an assignment, ask your teacher for an extension instead of having them to hunt you down for late work. You know, communication is key, like I was saying earlier, and it will just establish a better connection with you and your teacher.
What other advice we have out there?
So sorry. With registration coming along, I would recommend choosing classes that will both challenge you, but also you'll find fun. New North has a huge selection of elective courses, and as the years go on, as you progress through the high school, more opportunities open up to different types of courses. So I recommend finding things that you think you'll have fun in, or will challenge you and you'll enjoy.
This has kind of been like a common theme in people's answers, but I would say like get involved and make sure to build connections, because it helps you feel like more a part of the school, more like a member of the community, and more at home and comfortable coming to North each day.
I would definitely say develop a system to like organize your assignments and keep track of everything. Your teachers aren't going to remind you as much as they did in middle school about like upcoming tests. Like if you have a test 2 weeks from like today, they might say it like once now and then once like a few days before. It's not going to be an everyday reminder. Make sure that you either like have a planner or just some way to kind of keep track of everything, including clubs. It's just a lot of things to manage. So developing a system early to kind of track all of that will really help you in the long run.
Great. So those were our kind of previewed questions. And now we have some questions, I think, in the Q&A that anybody can answer. Actually, one was about how should my 8th grader choose electives? And I think, Kyle, you kind of put it out there, something that they're already good at or something they've never tried. And it sounds like a lot of the theme was about putting themselves out there, trying something that they haven't tried before. And although they may be good at something, they don't know if they're good at something else if they've never tried it. And just having the opportunity in order to do that. Another question was, how long did it take you to feel at home at North? And do you have any recommendations to help with the transition?
I think a big part of feeling at home at North is kind of finding your own community. So for me, 8th grade step up day, I went into the photo room and I immediately fell in love with the atmosphere and the dark room and everything. And your kids will get a chance to come in and see the building next week. But to really find your home at North is to find what you're interested in. Find your interest, and I would say pursue it as much as you can, because for as long as high school feels, you only have 4 or so years to get all you want to do done. And I think if you can choose whether you would like, I usually go towards the arts, and that's really where I found my community. But for others, it could be a number of things. North has so much to offer, but I think if you really want to find your home, stick to your interest, and you'll usually meet great people there.
I agree. And I found my home in volleyball freshman year. I had never played before, but the whole community was really welcoming. And this year we made it to a state championship. So that was really awesome and a really great feeling. And yeah, once again, try something new. I had never played volleyball before, and I ended up falling in love with it. So yeah.
That's terrific. We have another question. Can you only take one elective per semester? I kind of know that answer. Anybody want to shuffle that, dealing with the schedule a little bit?
I think it depends mainly on what elective you want to take. So in the course guide or course book that's on the website, it lists all the electives and it shows you how they either last a quarter, a semester, some of them are even full year. So it honestly depends on what you want to pursue. But there's so many different things you're interested in that, like, if you have to pick an elective just for a certain like block or time, I'm sure you'll find something that interests you. So it's just a good idea to look at the course book, and that's where you can like find out more about anything you're interested in.
And, I agree with what you're saying, Fanny, is also that electives, like you said, they can either be quarterly, they could be semester, they could be full year, they have all of those combinations. So it's really about looking at the schedule and, like, if we have blocks A through G, and if they're, full year for your major core classes, then they could be, you can end up taking 2 electives each semester, like a selective each semester, or whatever combination that is. But I also wanted to, given that, having a balanced schedule, thinking back of when there were directed studies and free blocks, do you suggest that students balance that with taking some free blocks or directed studies in their schedule when they're first starting out?
So I didn't do that, and I regretted that a little bit. I
Thanks
went in
for being
freshman
honest.
year and I took my 5 core classes, and then I took 2 electives, and then I had to like double up on like PE in the second semester. Not having any directed studies can be a little bit tricky as you're adjusting to high school. Yeah, frees are really nice. So having those and having the option for them, I would recommend it.
I appreciate that answer. Yes, we're trying to strike that balance. Another question was, will certain electives affect your credit score, or should you just try what you want in freshman year? So all classes will earn credits. They're all going to earn credits towards graduation. And certain classes are going to then be part of what we call distribution. There's certain classes, of course, the English and the math, science, social studies. But from an elective standpoint, we also have a graduation requirement called fine performing and technical arts. And what that means, within the 4 years of high school, there's a certain amount of courses that will yield the amount of credits in order to fulfill that graduation requirement. And this is purposeful. This is to make sure that students are exploring areas of interest, that they're not always just about the core academic classes, but they're really sparking where they want to highlight some of the things they want to do, and also looking towards the future. So I always tend to think, like, go with your heart, go with your mind, in the sense of what you want to explore. And there's not going to be courses that are going to derail you from getting the appropriate amount of credits in order for you to think about your opportunities for future planning. Something came up about what is the difference between Win Block and Tiger Block. And then it talks about how many electives in freshman year during the schedule. So can you talk a bit about what, I think that's my dog. You may be hearing my dog Lucky barking in the back. Sorry. What's the difference between Win Block and Tiger Block?
So basically, Tiger Block is more of a designated time for clubs. So like that's the main purpose for Tiger Blocks. But for Win Blocks, like I would say that the main purpose of that is to meet with teachers and like catch up with teachers, like talk about assignments and things like that. Like you could do the same during Tiger Block, but usually what happens during Tiger Block is just that a lot of club meetings happen, whereas Win Block is more for academic purposes.
The only thing I would add on to that is that Tiger Block is optional, while Win Block is a required class. Don't skip Win Block. It'll come up on your list of absences in Aspen. So yeah, it's a class.
Yes, that is a big difference. And then in order to figure out what you want to do during Win Block, what's that process?
We use like this thing called MyFlex Learning, where on Monday mornings during advisory, you sign up for what teacher's Win Block you want to go to. So there's 3 Win Blocks on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and they're 50 minutes each. And you it's pretty easy. You just like click like change class, and then you can type in a teacher and move to their win block and get whatever you need from them during that time.
And then just to add on, somebody was asking about, what do we mean Tiger Block's optional? Does it replace the class? Actually, Tiger Block is optional. The students can go home at the end of the day. So it's part of that after school schedule. So they go through their classes, and then when there's a Tiger Block on Tuesday afternoons, they can go to clubs, they can see teachers, they can see counselors, or they can go home or go to work or whatever that remains to be seen. Any other questions coming out? Any other points of in particular? So is Tiger Block always at the end of the day? Yes. The win blocks are the blocks that are embedded during the school day, and the Tiger Block is that one block that is at the end of the day on Tuesdays. I have another question. What do the levels for classes mean, like ACP or CP?
To put it simply, classes are split into one of three things. It's CP, college prep, ACP, advanced college prep, and honors or accelerated, depending on what class you're taking. The difference in classes, it's not more of a difficulty thing, it's more of in the speed in which they teach you it. So coming from someone who has gone through a ACP class and an honors class, they definitely teach you a lot more material a lot faster, and there's not much of a difference in workload other than in ACP you usually get either nightly or like every other night homework, and in an honors setting you get usually like a week packet where you have to fill it out throughout the week.
I think there was a nice summation that way. And I think that there's another point to say, a student can be in various levels, curriculum levels. So it doesn't mean that a student is tracked. They can have a class at CP, they can be in a class at ACP, they can have, and we also have multi-levels and combined classes in that sense to really get this, heterogeneous experience, but it's really about where a student is going to fit. And then should there be something, whether a class is too challenging or a class is not challenging enough, level changes can also be made up through December break in the beginning of each year. Here's a question. Why is there so much study time? Is there that much homework to do? Can you talk a bit about kind of homework expectations and what do you found that way?
I would definitely say freshman year homework is not that bad. As you kind of go through the grades at North, and depending on like if you decide to take like AP classes, or it depends kind of on your course load, the homework can definitely increase. Like for like AP Chem, for example, all of our, like, you do most of the learning outside of the classroom, so it's a lot of like watching lectures outside of the classroom, which leads to a lot of homework. But I would say freshman year it's not that intimidating work wise.
People finding that okay. And just someone's asking, like, how do you get recommended for course levels? So for example, so your teachers are making the recommendations of the classes in which the course levels that you're going to start out with. So right now, between now in the phase of current Newton North students, as well as our 8th graders, teachers are entering those course recommendations into Aspen, and then students will have their add in their electives and that kind of things. But it's really about teachers who have seen students perform and what they feel that they can do for that next year is going to be based on their assessments, their participation, their interests, and what they want to do. And they should be having conversations with students about where they see themselves, because a lot is about reflection, about how this year has gone and where they want to see themselves next year as well. So recommendations for course levels are definitely coming from the teachers. And then students will be entering in any courses that they don't need a recommendation for into for their electives. Here's a question: where does sports fit in when it comes to the schedule? And how do we balance that?
I can say that the later start time this year and the later end time especially have definitely impacted practice times for sports. During volleyball season, we would start practice at 4 because school didn't end until 3:45, and then we wouldn't get out until like 6:30. So that was definitely a large time commitment. I know that there are several other sports who practice in the mornings now due to the later start time, which honestly I would probably prefer just to free up the after school time. So it really depends on the amount of gym time available, field time, things like that, and your coach. So.
Yeah, that's been quite the balancing act, for everything about going, but it can be done, right? It can, when we encourage students to get connected and be in sports and then be in activities, there's ways to do that. And I think a lot of our students do it incredibly successfully, which is really, really helps to make the high school experience that much better. I think we have about a couple of minutes for another question. What are some of the club options? What time does school end? So school ends at 3:45 for every day, and then not for faculty on Tuesdays, we end at 4:45. But what are some club options? What kind of opportunities from clubs and activities have people been aware of?
So basically I would say that there's like quite a large amount of clubs, but from the ones that I have like been in, I would say that mock trial is definitely an option. It's a large time commitment, but I would really recommend it. It really helps like you build up your public speaking abilities, and it's just like it's such a great community. So I would really recommend checking it out if you're interested in public speaking, law, or acting. And there are also a ton of other awesome clubs. For example, there's Asian American Culture Club. That's a great club, and you should definitely join it. And there's also some more like competitive, like DECA, Model UN, mock trial, clubs like that. There are also some more chill ones like, fashion sustainability and like other clubs like that. There should be a list on the Newton North website. So if you look at that, there's a ton of options. And yeah, don't be afraid to try new things out.
That's awesome. Thanks. Yes, there is a list on the Newton North website, and it opens up and you can sort out alphabetically, and then it gives you information about who to contact when and that kind of thing in order to join clubs. And we'll have a club day in the beginning of next year about where students can get become more aware of what clubs and how to sign up for them. So I think that's the end of our first session. Thank you everybody for joining us. And then we'll be back in about 5 minutes to start up our second session.